I'm going to serve my way maker, trusting God to be a way maker. Here's our next point right here from verse 8, verse 9 right here. Driven hard, persecuted, and pursued. Driven hard, just a driven hard. You ever had a boss that's like, the more you work, the more they want you to work, and that boss got on vacation, leaving all the work for you, but you're not getting a raise? Driven hard, persecuted, and pursued. What Paul is saying at this point that, remember now, Paul had to sometimes hide out because folk were trying to kill him. First of all, you got the church folk trying to go after him he was part of them. He turned from them. They put a hit on his life. Then you got some other people over here, some Gentiles, like, wait a minute now, what you talking about? We can get saved, and as a result, they just stirring up people. So all these groups are after Paul. He says, I'm driven hard, I'm persecuted, I'm also pursued. Look where he keeps going. But I'm not deserted to stand alone. Yeah. I've been driven hard, I've been persecuted, I'm pursuing, they're pursuing me. But the idea says, but I recognize in the midst of it all, I am not deserted. I do not stand alone because I know God always stands with me. Anybody here know that? I don't care what it looks like and what it feels like. You may feel like it look in the natural like you're the only one trying to stand, and you're the only one trying to do something in your household, and the only one trying to do something in your church, and the only one trying to do something in your job. But God says, no, because you are in me. And I am in you. You will never stand alone. You are not deserted because I am always with you in the midst of our... You know the story back over in the book of Kings, of 2 Kings, the 1 Kings, I'm sorry. Remember when the prophet at this point said that there are no other prophets around here. And everybody has forsaken and gone away from the Lord. And God said, oh no, I got a whole group of folk over here still praying. I got a whole group of people over here still trusting. I got a whole... And so that's when Elijah went up and said... That at this point, you call the story there about standing alone. So Elijah was feeling at this point like there were no other prophets, no other believers around. And the prophets of Baal were just taking over. And the prophets of Baal, this false god, started mocking the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then in turn, they made an agreement. Whichever God shows up by fire, that's who we're going to serve. So at that point, Elijah said, you go first. I'll be a gentleman, you go first. So they went out here and they kept calling on Baal all day long. Show up by fire, Baal, show up. They started cutting themselves. So then Elijah said, well, maybe your God is sleeping. Maybe he's on vacation. Maybe he's deaf. You may have to talk a little bit louder. And they kept on, he kept mocking. He said, get out the way. Now I need you to say at this point, I need you to know at this point, I need you to now put some water on the wood, put some water on the sacrifice, put some water on the altar. It says that at this point, he asked God to show up, and God showed up at that point and burned everything up. And in the midst of it all, Elijah thought he was the only one, and there were some other prophets still praying. Don't you ever think you're the only one on your job who knows the Lord. Don't you ever think you're the only one? There's somebody's behind the scenes praying that you may not know about. And Paul said at this point, you may feel like you've been driven hard. You may feel like you've been persecuted. You may feel like you've been pursued. But at this point, you're not deserted to stand alone. Please read this with me right here. I love this quote here. God will what? Never desert us. Keep going. He never has, and he never will. He what? Cannot do it. It is not his character to do so. God is, please write down Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. It says God will never leave us, and God will never forsake us. In the midst of all that goes on, he'll never leave us and never forsake us. He'll never leave us, never forsake us. Sometimes we have felt forsaken, and sometimes it feels like we can't make it. But Paul recognized in the midst of being persecuted, pursued, and also at that point trampled down, that God had never forsaken him. I love this even from St. Paul II. Read this with me, please. In our trials, we may what? Feel alone. But God's grace, the grace of victorious faith, will never abandon us. Can somebody just give God just a hand clap of praise for knowing that we are never abandoned in the name of the Lord? And then poor child around. Poor child around. He got all these issues anyway, needs some therapy. But then, there's something wrong. Now, you keep trusting. You would think after so many years, he'll stop asking and expecting Lucy to keep the football. in place. And the football, every time the football is, Charlie Brown runs up to it, and she said, I'm going to keep it right here, and pulls up every time he falls on his head. So read this, please. You may feel lost. Anybody ever felt lost and alone for real? I mean, for real. Just keep on going. Look what happens there. But God knows exactly where you are. And God has a good plan for your life. Please give God a hand clap. He already has a good plan for your life. I said a wonderful plan for your life. So Paul reminds us already here that we may be driven hard, persecuted, and pursued. But we're not deserted to stand alone as well. So here's the next one we have right here for our D. Down, struck down to the ground. Just struck down. Just the stuff just came on. Just struck down to the ground from verse 9. Just struck down to the ground. Like this weight got to be so heavy where eventually just kind of wore you down. Carried it for a while and eventually just kind of wore you down. Carried it and trusted it for and will hold on to this thing for a while. And then I just got to share something before you go further here. Do you not know it was never God's intention for us to walk around with the hurt and the baggage we walk around with? Amen, somebody. I said it was never God's intention for us to walk around with the cares and the burdens and the issues that we walk around with. Please write these verses down. For Psalm 55:22. It says, cast your cares upon you, and God will sustain you. He'll never suffer the righteous to be moved. Please write this down. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast your cares upon him, because he cares for you. We keep walking around with all these cares. We keep walking around with all these hurts. We keep walking around with all these burdens. And even the writer of Hebrews says, lay aside the weight and the sin that goes so easily beset us. Whatever is holding you down, put it aside. It is not yours to carry. Jesus said, I will carry it all. If you just let me handle it, I can handle it if you just let it go. Told you all the story about this lady who had been married to her childhood sweetheart, her soulmate, and he died unexpectedly. They had one child between them. And the wife was just and the widow was having just challenges dealing with the fact her husband was never there. Every time she went by the store they used to go to, she would start crying. Every time she heard their favorite song, she would start crying. Every time she kept trying to go forward, she was just stuck and could not go anywhere. Well, one day they had gone to the grocery store, and the teenage daughter was just kind of upset seeing mom like that. And she just kind of just going through the motions on autopilot. She drives into the driveway and just cuts the car off. And then she goes around and gets the bag from the back. And the daughter goes in from her end and tries to grab the bag. The mom goes in from her end and tries to grab the bag. And they're both pulling the bag. And then eventually the mama said she heard the voice of God say through her child, I can handle it if you let it go. What's happened? She was trying to pull on to this care and hold on to this care. And the child says, I can handle it if you just let it go. Jesus said, I can take care of it. I've already taken care of it. But you got to let it go. You got to release it in the name of the Lord. You got to let this stuff go. Lay aside every weight. Lay aside every sin that so easily comes into your life. Lay it aside. And at this point, been struck down to the ground because they're trying to carry all this weight. Look what happens. He said, even though I've been struck down to the ground, but never struck out and destroyed. Yeah. Carry this weight, but I'm not going to be destroyed. Weight trying to take me out, I'm not going to be destroyed. Knocked down, but not going to be knocked out for good. I've been struck down, but I'm not struck, never struck out. Not going to be destroyed. Paul is saying, I know they know where we're hiding to try to have church. And they raided where we were, but I'm still going to trust God. I know they know all the secret places where I try to go to keep from being persecuted, but I'm still not going to be destroyed. I know at midnight I may have to cry, I may have to pray and praise God, but I'm not going to be destroyed. See, Paul had an understanding. He had to live on the other side of but. At this point, he was struck down to the ground, but he was not struck down. Not struck out or destroyed. We keep living on the wrong side of the but. At some point, now I'm not talking about you sitting, but at some point, because I know after a while, and that's why the message will be cut a little short, because I know y'all got to change shit. But out here, so at this point, Paul says, I'm not going to live on the side of pain, but I'm going to go to the side of praise. I'm not going to live on the side of trouble, but I'm going to go to the side of triumph. I'm not going to live in the side of the valley, but I'm going to go to the side of victory. Paul never lived on the wrong side of the book. And too many believers see what happens, we feel what happens, we experience what happens, and we stay over here instead of recognizing how wonderful God is. Struck down, but not destroyed. Be very clear. At some point, some things will be sucker punched. May feel struck down, and God promised you will not be destroyed. Please read this with me, please. When you've been struck down, now you are going to keep on. Now you are more powerful than they ever imagined. They thought by striking you down, you're going to be out. And now you grow stronger and better and wiser than you were before. Psalm 110:1 says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit here at my right hand until my enemies become a footstool. Yeah, they put something in your life to try to take you out, but they didn't know it was going to take you higher. They tried to take you out, but they took you up. It was not a setback. It was a set up to go even higher. And Paul said, yeah, I was struck down, but I am not going to be destroyed. Now, this is our last we have right here. Paul said at this point, from here, this is from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8. He says, our heads in, pressed in on every side. Pressed in on every side. If problems came from over here, so I turned over here, there were problems. And turned over here, and there were problems. Everywhere he turned, it looked like things were just coming against him. You ever had a situation like that? You ever had a time where it looked like every appliance society is going to break down at the same time? Oven here, you're going to try to replace a little fit, then in the refrigerator, and then in the washing machine, and you and then screw up, and then in the dryer. So it's about all this stuff, and so everywhere you turn, trying to get ahead, and so you keep getting knocked back and knocked back. And Paul said, but now in the midst of this, yeah, I'm pressed on every side, troubled and oppressed in every way, but I'm not crushed, not cramped. Get that now. He said, I'm pressed in on every side. And what is he saying here? In other words, he said, I'm experiencing trouble, and I'm being oppressed in every way possible. Folk are looking for ways. And here's what they were doing. Some people who were with Paul went back and said at this point he was not an apostle. They kept trying to undermine who he was. Some people said he wasn't even saved. They just kept trying to undermine. See, here's the point. People think if they undermine the messenger, they can undermine the message. Yes. And as a result, they kept trying to come against Paul. And Paul says, I can't afford to be concerned about what you said because my eyes are on the prize. I can't keep thinking about what you're talking about and what they said. I got to focus on what he said. And so even though he says, I'm at this point, I'm hedged in, pressed on every side, troubled and oppressed in every way. Look what it says. But I'm not cramped and I'm not crushed. I am not going to get crushed under the weight of everything coming against me. I am not going to get crushed. Now here's the point. There are just times now, see, that's why the challenge really comes in for a believer. When we're not in service and nobody's around, we're all by ourselves, and we start just kind of going back through and thinking about it. As long as we're around believers, feel strong, praise God. And we're doing the daytime feel, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, when we're still wide awake and can't go to sleep and think about all the stuff that's going on and why is it going on, and the devil tries to remind us that this is your dead end, that this is the last act. But you're like, oh, no, this is not a period. This is just a comma. Because right now, the story is still to be written. I'm not going to stop right here. I'm not going to stop right now. I know God's not through with me yet, so I know there's still a part 2. You just talking about part 1, devil, and you may have gotten this first round, but I'm telling you right now, I'm going to come back longer. I'm going to come back stronger. I'm going to come back wiser. I am not going to let you take me out. So don't go to me. So that is some points that I'm saying. Paul said at this point that I have been hedged, pressed on every side. Thought I could trust these folk, and they turned. Thought at this point they'll show up, and they turned. They knew my case was about to be cut off. They didn't give me $5. And I pressed on every side. Troubled, oppressed in every way. But I'm not cramped, and I'm not crushed. What Paul said, I'm not going to allow the weight of what they're saying about me to crush me. I'm not going to allow the gravity of everything coming against me to crush me. I love this one right here. So at this point, even so, Paul was like, you know what?